So you want to use trains to transport your items over long distance. Today we are going to go over everything you might need to know to start using trains efficiently and avoid those dreaded crashes or those pesky times where trains stop due to traffic. So what I've done here is set up a little scenario, and this is just an example of kind of how a train works. We have our train stations here. We have a station and a freight platform with a rail going in and a rail going out, connecting to the next train station that also has a freight platform and train station connecting with the railing. But you'll notice on the outputs and inputs of said train station, we actually have these industrial storage containers. Now these are what we are going to refer to as buffers, and they are essential to making sure a train network always is running at max throughput. That is the big deal. So I'm going to explain what this buffer is for real quick. As you can see, we have our inputs to each freight platform as one belt input, but from the storage container to the actual storage of the freight platform, we have two of these belts. And this is because when the animation of the train is loading or unloading, items do not transfer from the freight platform to the belts and vice versa. They are completely locked. As you'll see right here, these plates will stop moving when that animation starts. Right there, both of these stop moving. We have this buffer here so that our input still has somewhere to go. It still ticks up items. And then we use two belts to overcompensate for the time lost and make sure that we can still handle that throughput. So when this animation is done and we now need to pull items from the storage into our inventory of the freight platform, both belts will activate and you'll see this will slowly start to tick down. And this is exactly what we want. And of course you can use higher level belts. So if you have a Mark 5, Mark 6, this works the same way. You just always need the setup to look like this. And it goes for the output as well. The same thing. It will not output while it's loading. That's why we have two outputs going into a storage and then one output out of the storage. And that's pretty much all we need to know about our logistics and making sure we have our buffers. And this goes the same for fluid. So you could just replace your fluid platforms with piping into industrial fluid buffers with pipes leading out. So same thing there. And I think with the game's built-in tutorial and information, most people can get a basic train line like this up and running. You put a train station down, you have your track run into the next one and vice versa. But it gets a little tricky when we start adding more than one train on the same track. And that's where I want to bring your attention to this thing right here, which is what we would call an intersection. Now this might look a little daunting to some of you, but trust me, it's really simple. If you guys want a video specifically on different intersection designs, let me know. Okay, so the magic of the intersections really all starts with block and path signals, which might seem a little complicated, but trust me, they are extremely simple once you use them once or twice. So I pulled out a block signal here, and now you can see that our whole rail line is highlighted one color. That means that the train is going to see this whole section as one section. And that's important because you cannot have more than one train on a section at a time. And so you'll see what happens is if I put a block signal right there, and let's say a block signal at the entrance of our train station, we now have a different color section. So we have this orange section here and this red section back here. That means there are now two sections. And the rule of thumbs with trains is however many trains you have on your rail line, you always need one more section than you have trains at a bare minimum. But in reality, you're going to want more than that, and we'll explain that in just a little second. So we can take this one step further and add another block signal here, and let's say add another block signal here. So you can see now we have green over here, we have yellow underneath here, red here, and orange right here. So we have four different sections. So in theory, if we use that same formula of needing one more section than we do trains, then in theory we could have 3 trains on this loop. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grab another train, put it here, set up auto driving on it, and you'll see that it's actually going to drive to the next section. Now it'll stop right here because there's a train in the next section. Now this is a very inefficient example of a train station setup, but you can see that as soon as this train leaves this section, the next train wants to get in. As long as there is a open section in front of the train, it will always move forward. But as soon as that section is blocked, it will decide to not move forward. So you can see this one again is going to move forward into this one, and then it's going to stop because there's a train in the next section. This gets a little bit more complicated though when we look at intersections, because now now the train has to communicate with a bunch of different sections. And so I'm going to explain this as easily as possible. Whenever you're building an intersection, and that is whenever a rail line crosses one other rail line. So in theory, your intersection could just look like this. But we are going to use this as an example right here. The rule of thumb is that for every entrance to your intersection, you need a path signal, not a block, a path. So I'm doing right-hand drive right here. So we're going to put a path signal right here. And then again, we're going to come over to the next entrance, which would be right here. And then the next one right here. And then on your exits, you want to place block signals. There's a block signal there, there, and there. And this is technically going to make a working intersection. What's going to happen is a train is going to come up to the intersection and it's going to communicate with a path signal. And that is just going to tell the train yes or no if there is a train within this vicinity. If there is, it's going to say, hey, stop. If there's not, then it's going to allow it to go through and complete its route. You can imagine how important and crucial this will be, especially later game when you have tons of trains. A lot of people love to use trains all the time, and you can easily have 100+ trains in a world, and that would be a lot of traffic. You'll notice that these are yellow currently right now, and that's on the block signals right here. The game is basically saying that, hey, there's no closed path ahead of me, so I can't tell you to continue going. So if I were to throw a block signal down here, I'm going to use this side right here as an example. If I were to put a block signal right here, you can see that this is now green, and that's just saying that there is a completed section right after. I hope this is a good enough explanation for you. Like I said, once you do this a couple times, it becomes really easy and second nature. The rule of thumb is on an intersection, it's a path signal in and a block signal out. Very simple. The only other thing that you're going to do on a loop or a train is you just want to break up your long stretches of train track with block signals every so often, so that way if a train is in that section and it has to travel in that section for like over a minute, you don't want that whole section being occupied and stopping another train from being able to enter. I personally like to have more block signals than maybe I need, but it definitely allows your trains to move at a constant high rate of speed, and it drastically lowers the chance that they're going to have to stop due to traffic, even if that traffic is really far away, because it doesn't matter about distance, it only matters about the sections. Okay, so just to recap, the main points here are we need buffers on both the inputs and outputs of the train stations. That way we can always transport our belt capacity. We need path signals when entering an intersection and block signals when leaving an intersection. And we want to make sure we are breaking up our long stretches of rail with a bunch of block signals. This will ensure that your trains can move at that high rate of speed because they can move really fast. We want those materials moving really fast, and we never want them stopping. And I think that's all I have for you. I mean, this is supposed to be geared towards people who are a little more unfamiliar with the trains. They're not super complicated. Once you start using them, you'll understand them, and it'll seem like second nature pretty soon. Once we hit trains in our Let's Play, we will be focusing on a highway and a highway network around the map. So maybe you'll find some more information down the road there. And if you want me to expand on anything from this video or a totally different topic, let me know down below and I will do so. We do live stream all of our Let's Play on Twitch if you guys care to check it out, and every blueprint that we make for our Let's Play is put on Patreon along with the save file every month. So if any of that stuff will interest you down the line, it will be there. But again, if you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, do all the jazz, and until next time, peace.